What if I told you that hidden within the pages of the Catholic Catechism are 12 profound secrets that reveal not just who you are, but whose you are? Secrets that unlock the mystery of human dignity, purpose, and destiny in ways that will completely transform how you see yourself and every person you meet. Today, we're diving deep into paragraphs 355 through 384 of the Catechism to uncover 12 life-changing truths about being made in God's image. And I promise you, the 12th secret will revolutionize your understanding of what it truly means to be human. Welcome back to the channel, where we make the timeless wisdom of the Catholic Catechism accessible for your everyday life. I'm your host, and today we're exploring one of the most fundamental questions humanity has ever asked. What does it mean to be human? The Church's teaching on human creation is not just ancient philosophy. It's the foundation for understanding human dignity, relationships, suffering, and our ultimate destiny. These 12 secrets from the Catechism will give you a completely new lens through which to view yourself, your relationships, and your purpose in this world. By the end of this video, you'll understand why every human being possesses an unrepeatable dignity, why we long for something beyond this world, and how this ancient teaching addresses the deepest questions of modern life. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's unlock these transformative truths together. Let Us Make Man in Our Image reveals God's intentional design for humanity. Our first secret comes from the very words of creation itself. The Catechism teaches us in paragraph 356 that when God said, "Let us make man in our image, in our likeness," this wasn't a casual divine afterthought. This was the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, in consultation about their masterpiece. Think about this. Before creating the stars, God simply spoke them into existence. Let there be light, and there was light. But when it came to humanity, we see deliberation, planning, divine conversation. The plural us reveals that your creation was a Trinitarian event. Here's what this means for your life today. You weren't mass-produced. You weren't an accident or a biological coincidence. You are the result of divine intentionality. Every morning when you wake up, remember that the Trinity consulted about your existence before the foundation of the world. Practical application. When you're struggling with self-worth or feeling insignificant, return to this truth. Write it down. The Trinity consulted about my creation. Let this reality anchor your identity, not in what you do, but in whose image you bear. That divine consultation leads us to our second secret, one that reveals the very nature of the image you carry. You reflect the Trinity through intellect, will, and capacity for relationship. The Catechism reveals in paragraph 357 that being made in God's image is not just a poetic expression, it's a specific meaning. We image the Trinity through our rational nature, our intellect that can know truth, our will that can choose good, and our capacity for authentic relationship. Consider St. Teresa of Avila's experience. Her brilliant theological insights show our intellect reflecting God's infinite wisdom. Her choices to reform her religious order despite enormous opposition demonstrate our will participating in God's perfect freedom. Her deep mystical relationship with Christ reveals our capacity to commune with the divine. But here's the key insight. These three capacities work together, just like the Trinity. When your intellect seeks truth without your will choosing to act on it, you remain incomplete. When your will makes choices disconnected from truth and relationship, you become disordered. The image of God in you flourishes when all three work in harmony. Practical application. Before making important decisions, engage all three capacities. Ask, what does my intellect know to be true about this situation? What is my will being called to choose? How will this affect my relationships with God and others? This Trinitarian approach to decision-making reflects the very image of God within you, but there's something even more profound about this image. Our third secret reveals why you're fundamentally different from every other creature. Each human person is a unique, unrepeatable image of God. Here's where the Catechism gets revolutionary. Paragraph 357 doesn't just say, we're made in God's image generically. It reveals that each person is a unique, unrepeatable reflection of the infinite God. You don't just bear God's image, you bear it in a way that no one else ever has or ever will. Think about St. Therese of Lisieux's little way, compared to St. John of the Cross's dark night of the soul. Both saints, both imaging God perfectly, yet expressing that image in completely different ways. Teresa's childlike trust and John's mystical depths both reveal aspects of God's infinite nature that the other could not express. This means the way you love, the way you struggle, the way you serve, the way you pray. All of it reveals something about God that would be lost to the world if you didn't exist. Your personality isn't just psychological quirks. It's a unique prism through which God's light shines into the world. Practical application. Stop trying to be someone else's version of holy. Your path to sanctity will look different from everyone else's because you're revealing a unique aspect of God's infinite nature. Embrace your authentic self while purifying it through grace. The world needs your specific reflection of the divine. This uniqueness points to our fourth secret, one that explains the deepest longing in your heart. You are called to eternal life with God, not just earthly happiness. The Catechism teaches in paragraph 356 that we are called to beatitude, to perfect happiness in God. But here's the secret most people miss. This calling to eternal life is not just about what happens after death. It's the explanation for every restless longing you've ever felt. St. Augustine captured this perfectly. You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you. Every desire for perfect love, perfect justice, perfect beauty, perfect truth. These aren't just psychological phenomena. They're echoes of your eternal calling breaking through into temporal life. This is why no earthly achievement, relationship, or experience ever fully satisfies you. You were made for infinity, and anything finite will always leave you wanting more. It's not that earthly goods are bad, it's that they're signposts pointing to your true destination. Practical application. When you experience deep dissatisfaction despite outward success, don't despair. Recognize it as a sign of your divine calling. Use these moments of restlessness as invitations to prayer, to remember that your heart is calibrated for eternity. Let earthly joys point you toward eternal joy, rather than trying to make them bear the weight of ultimate meaning. But how do we navigate this tension between earthly life and eternal calling? Our fifth secret reveals the beautiful balance. You are neither just a body nor just a soul, but an embodied soul with profound unity. Here's where the Church's wisdom becomes especially relevant for our modern world. The Catechism teaches in paragraph 362 that the soul doesn't just inhabit the body like a driver in a car. The soul is the form of the body, creating a substantial unity. You don't have a body. You are an embodied soul. This counters both materialist reductionism that says you're just a body and Gnostic spiritualism that sees the body as a prison. Consider how this played out in the life of St. John Paul II. Even as Parkinson's disease affected his body, his embodied witness to human dignity became more powerful, not less. His trembling hands elevated the Eucharist with profound reverence, showing how spirit and matter work together in the human person. This unity means your bodily experiences aren't separate from your spiritual life. The way you eat, sleep, exercise, and care for your physical health affects your spiritual state. Conversely, your spiritual practices affect your physical well-being. Practical application. Integrate care for your body into your spiritual life. Approach eating as thanksgiving, exercise as stewardship, rest as trust in God's providence. Conversely, recognize that spiritual practices like fasting, genuflecting, and making the sign of the cross engage your whole person, body, and soul together in worship. This embodied nature leads us to our sixth secret, one that reveals the deepest truth about human relationships. Male and female together reveal the fullness of human nature. The Catechism teaches in paragraph 369 that man and woman were made for each other, not just for romantic relationships, but because masculine and feminine together reveal the complete image of God in humanity. This isn't about stereotypes or limiting roles. It's about recognizing that complementarity reveals divine truth. Consider the great partnerships in church history. Saint Benedict and Saint Scholastica, reforming religious life. Saint Francis and Saint Clare, founding movements. Saint Teresa of Avila and Saint John of the Cross, advancing mystical theology. In each case, masculine and feminine perspectives together achieved what neither could accomplish alone. This complementarity extends beyond marriage to all human relationships. It's reflected in the Church herself, described as both mother and bride. It speaks to the way we all possess both receptive and generative capacities, both strength and tenderness, both clarity and intuition. Practical application. In your relationships, look for opportunities to learn from the complementary gifts others bring. If you're male, cultivate receptivity and intuition. If you're female, embrace appropriate assertiveness and leadership. Whether married or single, recognize how masculine and feminine perspectives together reveal more of God's truth than either alone. But there's something that happened to this beautiful complementarity. Our seventh secret reveals the tragedy and the hope. The fall damaged, but did not destroy the image of God in humanity. Here's a secret that changes everything. The Catechism teaches in paragraph 376 that original sin wounded human nature, but did not obliterate the image of God within us. We're not totally depraved, but we're not naturally perfect either. We're wounded healers, broken beauties, fallen nobility. Think about the way we still recognize goodness, truth, and beauty, even in our fallen state. Even the most hardened criminal can be moved by a sunset or a child's laughter. Even in the depths of despair, we still long for love and meaning. These are traces of the original image shining through the damage. St. Paul captures this perfectly when he writes about the law written on our hearts. The natural law, our innate sense of right and wrong, is the image of God still functioning even after the fall. It's damaged, but it's not destroyed. This means every person you meet, regardless of their current state, carries the wounded but real image of God. The homeless person, the difficult coworker, the politician you disagree with, the family member who hurt you, all bear this sacred dignity. Practical application. When you encounter someone behaving badly, try to see past their actions to the wounded image of God within them. This doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior, but it means approaching others with a fundamental reverence for their dignity. Practice looking for traces of God's image even in difficult people. You'll be amazed how this transforms your relationships. But the wounding of our nature reveals an even deeper secret about human freedom. Human freedom is not license, but the capacity to choose authentic good. The Catechism reveals in paragraph 377 that before the fall, human freedom was perfectly ordered. We were free to choose the good without the internal conflict we now experience. But here's the crucial insight. Even after the fall, freedom isn't the ability to do whatever we want. True freedom is the capacity to choose what's authentically good for us. Consider St. Augustine's journey. In his Confessions, he describes being free to pursue pleasure, fame, and intellectual pride, but feeling increasingly enslaved. Only when he chose to follow Christ did he experience true freedom, not freedom from all constraints, but freedom to become who he was meant to be. This understanding of freedom is radically countercultural. Our society often equates freedom with the absence of limits, but the Church teaches that freedom is the capacity to transcend our limitations and choose what leads to authentic flourishing. The secret is that every moral choice is really a choice about who you want to become. Do you want to become the kind of person who keeps promises even when it's difficult? Who speaks truth even when it's costly? Who loves even when it's not reciprocated? These choices shape your character and either enhance or diminish your freedom. Practical application. Before making decisions, ask not just what do I want, but what kind of person will this choice make me? Practice small acts of self-discipline, not as burden, but as exercises in freedom. Choose to keep minor commitments to build the moral muscle for major ones. This understanding of freedom leads us to our ninth secret, one that reveals why suffering doesn't destroy human dignity. Human dignity cannot be earned, forfeited, or destroyed by any circumstance. Here's perhaps the most revolutionary secret in the entire Catechism. Paragraph 369 reveals that human dignity is ontological, not functional. It's based on what you are, not what you do. This dignity cannot be increased by success or decreased by failure, enhanced by virtue or diminished by sin, strengthened by health or weakened by illness. Consider the witness of Saint Maximilian Kolbe in Auschwitz. Stripped of everything, family, possessions, health, even his name reduced to a number, his dignity remained unassailable. When he offered his life for a stranger, he demonstrated that human dignity transcends every circumstance that seems to diminish it. This secret explains why the Church's social teaching is so uncompromising about human rights. It's not based on sentiment or politics, but on metaphysical reality. The unborn child, the severely disabled person, the elderly person with dementia, the death row inmate, all possess the same fundamental dignity because all are made in God's image. This dignity is why murder is always wrong, but it's also why calumny, gossip, and treating people as mere objects for our use are violations of human dignity. Every interaction with another person is an encounter with the image of God. Practical application. Practice seeing the dignity in everyone you encounter. The cashier, the person who cut you off in traffic, the difficult family member, all bear the indestructible image of God. Let this recognition transform how you speak to and about others. Defend human dignity not just in obvious cases, but in daily interactions. This indestructible dignity points to our 10th secret, one that reveals the ultimate purpose of human existence. We are made for communion, with God and with one another. The Catechism teaches in paragraph 356 that we are made in the image of God, who is himself a communion of persons. This means isolation isn't just painful, it's contrary to our fundamental nature. We are hardwired for relationship because God himself is relational. But here's the secret. This call to communion explains both the joy of authentic relationships and the pain of broken ones. When relationships work well, when we experience genuine love, forgiveness, mutual service, and shared purpose, we get a taste of Trinitarian life. When relationships are marked by selfishness, manipulation, or indifference, we experience a kind of hell because we're living contrary to our nature. Saint Teresa of Calcutta understood this profoundly. She saw in the dying poor not just physical suffering, but the deeper anguish of abandonment, of being unloved. Her ministry was fundamentally about restoring communion, helping people experience their dignity as beloved children of God, even in their final moments. This call to communion also explains why solitary spiritual practices, while important, are not sufficient. We need community, liturgy, shared mission. Even hermits like Saint Bruno or Saint Romuald founded communities because they understood that authentic spirituality leads to deeper, not lesser, communion with others. Practical application. Evaluate your relationships through the lens of communion. Are your interactions building authentic unity, or just satisfying individual needs? Practice the art of true listening, not just waiting for your turn to speak, but genuinely receiving the other person. Make time for communal worship, shared meals, and collaborative service is essential to your spiritual growth. This call to communion reveals our 11th secret, one that transforms how we understand human work and creativity. Humans are called to participate in God's ongoing creative work. The Catechism reveals in paragraph 373 that our dominion over creation is not domination, but participation in God's ongoing creative and providential care. We're not just consumers or even stewards, we're co-creators, called to continue and perfect the work God began. Consider the life of Saint Joseph, the worker. His carpentry wasn't just a job, but a participation in God's creative activity. Every table he built, every door he hung, every tool he crafted was a way of bringing order, beauty, and utility into the world, continuing God's creative work. This elevates all authentic human work to a sacred level. The farmer cooperates with God's life-giving power. The teacher participates in God's illuminating wisdom. The parent shares in God's generative love. The artist reflects God's creative beauty. Even routine tasks become opportunities for co-creation when done with love and excellence. But here's the crucial insight. This co-creative calling extends beyond professional work to moral and spiritual creativity. Every act of forgiveness creates new possibilities for relationship. Every choice to love in difficult circumstances brings something new into the world. Every prayer of intercession participates in God's providential care. The secret is that God doesn't need our cooperation, He invites it. He could accomplish everything without us, but He chooses to work through us because relationship and shared creativity reflect the Trinitarian life. Practical application. Approach your work, whether professional, domestic, or volunteer, as a form of prayer and co-creation with God. Ask, how can this task contribute to God's ongoing creative work in the world? Offer your work to God each morning and perform it with the excellence worthy of co-creators. Look for opportunities to create beauty, order, and service in everything you do. All of these secrets point to our final and most profound revelation. We are destined for divinization, to share in God's own divine life. Here's the most stunning secret of all. The Catechism teaches that our ultimate destiny is not just to be with God, but to share in God's own divine nature through grace. This is called theosis, or divinization, becoming by grace what Christ is by nature. This isn't metaphorical language. St. Peter explicitly teaches that we are called to become partakers of the divine nature. The Church Fathers consistently taught that God became man so that man might become God, not by nature, but by participation in divine grace. Think about the Transfiguration for a moment. Christ's human nature was flooded with divine glory, revealing what our humanity looks like when perfectly united to divinity. That vision of Christ transfigured is actually a preview of your own ultimate destiny. This secret transforms everything. It means your struggles with sin aren't just moral failures, but resistance to your divinization. Your growth in virtue isn't just ethical improvement, but actual participation in divine life. Your sufferings are not just burdens to endure, but opportunities to be configured to Christ's passion and share in his resurrection. Every sacrament, every prayer, every act of love moves you further along this path of divinization. You're not just trying to be a good person, you're being transformed into a divine person. Sharing God's own life while remaining fully human. Practical application. Let this ultimate destiny reframe your entire spiritual life. When you're struggling with sin, remember you're called to divinization. This gives you divine resources for the struggle. When you're growing in virtue, recognize it as actual divine life increasing within you. Make your daily spiritual practices, prayer, sacraments, works of mercy, conscious steps toward your ultimate destiny of sharing God's own divine life. These 12 secrets from the Catechism reveal who you truly are, a unique, unrepeatable image of the Trinitarian God. Wounded but not destroyed by sin, called to eternal communion, and destined for divinization. This isn't just theology, it's the foundation for understanding your infinite dignity and ultimate purpose. If these insights have deepened your appreciation for the Church's wisdom, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We're building a community of Catholics who want to understand their faith more deeply and live it more authentically. In the comments below, share which of these 12 secrets resonated most with you. Or tell us how understanding your creation in God's image has changed your perspective on daily life. The truth that you are made in God's image is not just a beautiful doctrine, it's the most practical truth you can know. It explains your deepest longings, your highest aspirations, and your ultimate destiny. It gives you a foundation for dignity that no circumstance can shake, and a vision of purpose that no suffering can obscure. May these truths from the Catechism transform how you see yourself and every person you encounter. Remember, you bear the image of the God who is love himself. Let that reality shine through you into our world that desperately needs to see it. Till next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep reflecting the divine image within you. God bless you.